Once upon a time, I started a little matchmaking project. Spines and sparks. I paired readers with books they might actually love. It was wholesome. It was thoughtful. It was relatively safe. But then I realized I wasn't just good at matching books to readers. I was also dangerously good at matching books to moments, to emotional damage, to chaotic energy, to readers who maybe, just maybe, needed a little narrative misbehavior in their lives. I'm still the matchmaker, but now I'm matching for both sides. The book and the reader. The story that wants to be cracked open and the reader who's ready to spread those pages and whisper, "Wreck me." I'm Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and welcome to the first official meeting of my power-hungry literary matchmaking empire. Books behaving badly. This is not about nice books. This is about books with secrets, unresolved trauma, podcast side plots, and morally gray plot twists. They don't want to be your friend. They want to be your bad decision. Each episode, I'll introduce 3 books that share a setup. Today, true crime podcasts and cold case drama. But each one brings a different kind of chaos to the table. They'll flirt with you. They'll show you their best angles. They'll hide their red flags until it's too late. And you don't have to pick just one. But by the end, I guarantee you'll know who you're texting back first. Okay, now that the theme music's out of the way, let's talk logistics. Because books behaving badly isn't your usual recommendation video. It's not about taste. It's not asking which book is the best. We're asking which one is going to ruin you in the most satisfying way. Here's what's happening. 3 books, 1 suspiciously shared premise. This week, it's dead girls, true crime podcasts, and emotionally unavailable institutions. They're not fighting for my attention. They're fighting for yours. They want to be the book you cancel plans for, the book you start reading during your lunch break and end up finishing in the bathtub with 1 wet arm and no regrets. I just make the introductions. I set the stage and then I sit back and let the books try to seduce you, dear viewer. We'll go round by round. Setting, trauma, pacing. You'll get a taste of how they operate. And then you decide who's getting your number. My pick? I'll reveal that in a shorts video naturally because villains, like plot twists, always arrive late. All right, enough foreplay. Let's meet tonight's romantic disaster, shall we? Contestant number 1, I have some questions for you by Rebecca Makkai. Hailing from snowy New Hampshire with a long trail of self-doubt and a podcast mic she probably shouldn't be trusted with, it's Moody Kane. She's a podcaster. She's got a tragic backstory, a boarding school she never really left, and an obsessive need to unpack her dead roommate's cold case like it's a seminar assignment. Moody won't just ask if you've ever experienced guilt. She'll ask what kind of guilt, where you store it, and whether you'd like to discuss it over mulled wine and repressed memories. She's smart, she's messy, and she absolutely thinks this is just research. Spoiler, it's not. Contestant 2, The Lake of Lost Girls. From a small North Carolina town where everyone's suspicious and the lake has a higher body count than your favorite Netflix docuseries. It's Lindsay Fadley. She's got 90s trauma, sister-shaped grief, and a hotel reception desk she's about 2 seconds from walking away from forever. Her sister disappeared 24 years ago. Now the bones are surfacing, and wouldn't you know it, a true crime podcast just dropped a new season on her entire life. Lindsay is not polished. She's definitely not ready, but she's done waiting for closure. This is a girl who reads your text, doesn't reply, and shows up 3 hours later with your secrets and her own suspects list. And contestant number 3, the night swim. Straight out of your favorite justice-fueled fever dream, we've got Rachel Kroll. She's the host of a wildly successful podcast, and she's covering a rape trial that's already gotten national attention. And she just received an anonymous letter about another girl, a girl no one ever investigated properly. Rachel doesn't spiral. She investigates. She doesn't emote. She records. But underneath that journalistic chill is someone who's running out of distance between telling the story and being the story. She's cool, she's composed, and you just know she'll keep her mic on if things get messy. So, who's got you intrigued? The academic spiral queen? The lakeside trauma magnet? Or the podcast goddess who solves crimes like she's speed dating your moral compass? All right, it's round 1, aka the part where the books light some candles, cue some mood music, and ask you to picture your life falling apart. Somewhere scenic. Let's start with I have some questions for you, where the vibe is snow, silence, and the gentle sound of unresolved guilt crunching underfoot. We're in New Hampshire at a prestigious boarding school with stone buildings, perfectly trimmed hedges, and secrets so old they're basically legacy admissions. Bodie Kane is back on campus, officially to teach. But we both know this is a nostalgia trap disguised as a job. It's one of those places where everything looks lovely on the surface, but you just know something awful happened in that third floor dorm room nobody uses anymore. The story slips between past and present like icy breath on glass. Every hallway is a flashback, every snowstorm a chance to uncover something the school was happy to forget. If you like your setting to feel elegant, haunted, and just a little emotionally manipulative, I have some questions for you is already clearing space for you in the archives. Next up, welcome to the Lake of Lost Girls, where the lake is cold, the nostalgia is misleading, and everyone has a past that they really hope you don't bring up at dinner. This one's set in a small North Carolina college town where it's somehow always 1998. You've got grungy bedrooms, passive-aggressive parents, and a lake that's like, don't worry about what I'm hiding, it's none of your business. The narrative splits between Jessica, perfect, golden, unraveling, and her younger sister Lindsay, who's still stuck in town like her trauma has squatters' rights. Now, a true crime podcast is reopening the case, and just like that, the whole town is back in the spotlight, whether it wants to be or not. Spoiler, it really doesn't. If you want a setting that smolders with dread, keeps its secrets soggy, and whispers, maybe closure is a myth, The Lake of Lost Girls will absolutely drag you back to your worst year and dare you to swim. And finally, let's turn up the heat with The Night Swim, where the water's warm, the stakes are high, and the past refuses to stay buried, even when it's been weighed down with rocks. We're in a beach town this time. A little sleepy, a little mean. The kind of place where everyone waves to you at the cafe, but also remembers the last scandal in perfect detail. Rachel Kroll, queen of true crime podcasts, is in town to cover a brutal trial. But instead, she's pulled into a different case. A suspicious drowning, a grieving sister, and a town that keeps looking away. The setting hums with tension, salty air, whispering surf, and that eerie feeling that something is watching. Probably your conscience. The Night Swim doesn't offer comfort, it offers clarity. And clarity, my dear book lovers, is often the scariest setting of all. So, What's your vibe? Snowy repression and dorm room doom in I Have Some Questions for You? Or murky lakeside memory and small town claustrophobia in The Lake of Lost Girls? Or ocean breezes and justice served hot in The Night Swim? You don't have to pick now, but someone's already lighting a fire in your subconscious, aren't they? Round 2, let's talk damage. Because plot is fine and setting is fun, but what really wrecks us? Emotionally unstable protagonists with questionable judgment and one too many secrets. Let's start with Moody Kane, who is, without a doubt, spiraling. But make it typewritten, footnoted, and very, very internal. Bodhi's brand of trauma isn't loud. It doesn't throw things, it just hovers. She's back at her old school, and every hallway is a memory minefield. She's thinking about her dead roommate, her podcast, her own choices, and somewhere in that spiral, she starts wondering if she's been telling the wrong version of the story, even to herself. This isn't a sobbing in the rain kind of breakdown. It's the kind where you overanalyze a 20-year-old conversation at 2 a.m., then do it again, but this time in italics. I Have Some Questions for You is perfect if you like your emotional pain complex, self-aware, and do like an academic symposium. Now, Lindsay Fadley in The Lake of Lost Girls, she's not spiraling. She's stagnant. Like a lake that might be hiding bodies. We're not saying she's the lake, but if the symbolism fits, we're gonna go with it. Lindsay's sister disappeared when she was 6, and she never left town. She never got real closure, never got answers. Now the podcast is back. The bodies are surfacing, and suddenly everyone's asking questions Lindsay doesn't want to answer, especially not about her own memories. The book is grief with LG on it. It's sticky, it's complicated, and it's about realizing that the truth you were handed might be a beautifully folded lie. The Lake of Lost Girls is for readers who don't want catharsis. They want the ache that comes before it. Then there's Rachel Crawl, and her version of damage? It's high functioning. She's not spiraling, she's producing. She is editing episodes, chasing interviews, attending court, and managing a podcast empire, all while ignoring the low hum of burnout radiating from her soul. But here's the thing. Rachel's so good at staying focused, you almost miss how bad it's getting. Until she starts receiving letters. Until old cases resurface. Until you realize the person she's most unwilling to interview is herself. The Night Swim hits that sweet spot between journalistic detachment and slow, inevitable personal collapse. If you like emotional damage in the form of a professional woman on the verge, Rachel's ready to take your statement, but definitely not take your advice. Do you want an intellectual spiral and a healthy dose of academic dread from I Have Some Questions for You? Quiet, sediment-heavy grief with a sibling twist in The Lake of Lost Girls, or emotionally compartmentalized, podcast-powered unraveling in The Night Swim? Someone's coping mechanism is calling, and it's probably got your name on it. All right, let's talk speed. Because sometimes you want a long, slow descent into madness. And sometimes you want a book to shove you into a narrative hole and bury you there. I Have Some Questions for You is not in a rush. This is a slow, deliberate unpeeling. You're not racing through chapters, you're sinking. Like snow, piling up on your windshield until you realize you've been sitting in the same spot for 6 hours, rereading that one paragraph about guilt. The podcast structure isn't about clickbait. It's a slow drip IV of memory and misdirection. This book wants you to question every version of truth you've ever believed and then read the whole thing again just to see what you missed the first time. It's the literary equivalent of that ex who texts you, "Hey, quick question," and 5 hours later you're crying into a library copy of the yellow wallpaper. You don't read "I have some questions for you," you spiral through it. Now, The Lake of Lost Girls plays a little trick. You think it's going to be slow, moody, mysterious. And it is. But then something tugs. A bone turns up, a lie slips loose, and suddenly you're 3 chapters deep into starting to suspect the furniture. This one's like being in a quiet house when you realize something's moving in the basement. The dread builds fast, the flashbacks blur. The secrets keep surfacing like bloated metaphors from the lake. You'll think you've got it figured out, and you haven't. You'll say, "Just one more chapter," and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and you've officially become an unreliable narrator of your own sleep schedule. The Lake of Lost Girls wrecks you quietly, and then all at once. And then there's The Night Swim, which grabs you by the collar in chapter 1 and does not let go. This is the binge read. The "oops, I finished it in a day." The "do not start this before bed unless you want to have a full-blown morality crisis at sunrise" read. Rachel's podcast episodes are baked into the narrative, tight, focused, and perfectly structured to wreck your productivity. You're juggling courtroom coverage, anonymous letters, cold case sleuthing, and a narrator who thinks she's in control, but definitely isn't. The Night Swim is the date who shows up early, orders for both of you, and then solves a murder while you're still picking your appetizer. So, let's be honest. Are you into slow, emotional suffocation with "I have some questions for you"? A steadily rising tide of secrets in The Lake of Lost Girls? Or full throttle, podcast-fueled panic in The Night Swim? Whatever your pacing kink, someone's ready to ruin you. All right, the candles are out. The wine is gone. The books have laid out their damage like a buffet of poor decisions. And now it's up to you. Which one gets the first date? So let's recap, book lover. I Have Some Questions for You is the academic soft boy of the bunch. All snowy angst, podcast ethics, and "I'm not spiraling, I'm reflecting" energy. You'll feel smart reading it. You'll feel haunted afterward, and you'll probably write a long paragraph about it in your notes app at 1 a.m. The Lake of Lost Girls is giving hometown trauma realness. It's emotionally murky, possibly dangerous, and somehow sexier than it has any right to be. If you've ever stayed in a situationship just to get answers, this one's for you. The Night Swim is here with receipts, rage, and a timeline. It's hot, it's fast, and emotionally efficient. This book doesn't need your approval. It already booked the hotel, filled the FOIA request, and left you 6 unread messages that say, "You up?" So, who are you giving your number to? Who are you letting climb onto your nightstand and whisper, "Just one more chapter"? And which one's getting left unread? Drop your pick in the comments. Tell me who tempted you, who wrecked you, and which one you're making eye contact with across the room, like you're ready to risk it all. And yes, my pick is coming, but not here. You'll get that in a shorts video because some of us still believe in a little mystery. As always, I appreciate you. I hope life is good, and if it's not, well, maybe the right book is just waiting to flirt its way onto your shelf and destroy your emotional equilibrium.